The sound of my son's scream echoed through the house, followed by a series of thuds that made my blood run cold. I dropped the dishes I was washing and ran toward the staircase, my heart pounding against my ribcage. There, at the bottom of the stairs, lay my 7-year-old son Oliver, crumpled and motionless. Oliver! I rushed to his side, afraid to move him. Above us, my brother Marcus stood at the top of the stairs, an odd expression on his face. Not concern, not shock, but something that looked disturbingly like satisfaction. Mom, Dad, I screamed, carefully checking Oliver for obvious injuries. He was conscious but crying, clutching his side. My parents rushed in from the backyard, where they'd been enjoying their Sunday afternoon tea. What happened? My mother asked, looking between Oliver and Marcus. Before I could speak, Marcus called down. We were just playing around, weren't we, buddy? Some rough housing got out of hand. He descended the stairs slowly, hands in his pockets. Kids need to toughen up these days. Playing? I spat, feeling Oliver trembling under my touch. He pushed him. I heard Oliver say stop before he screamed. Now, Amanda. My father stepped forward, his voice carrying that familiar patronizing tone. Boys will be boys. I'm sure Marcus didn't mean any harm. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Oliver was clearly injured, yet they were already making excuses for Marcus. But then again, they always did. My 30-year-old brother had never faced consequences for his actions, not when he broke my arm during play fighting, when we were kids, not when he accidentally pushed his ex-girlfriend's car into a ditch, and apparently not now. He's fine, Marcus said, reaching down to ruffle Oliver's hair. My son flinched away, whimpering. See, he's just being dramatic. Like his mother. Don't touch him, I warned, pulling Oliver closer. Mom, Dad, he did this on purpose. Oliver's been afraid of Marcus ever since he moved back home. This isn't the first time. My mother's face hardened. Amanda, don't start with your accusations. Your brother's going through a rough time since losing his job. He doesn't need this drama. Drama? I looked down at Oliver, who was still holding his side, tears streaming down his face. My son is hurt. He'll walk it off, my father declared. Now let's all calm down and have some tea. Oliver, stop crying. You're a big boy now. I felt something snap inside me. Years of watching them coddle Marcus, years of being told I was overreacting, years of having my concerns dismissed. It all crystallized into a moment of absolute clarity. We're going to the hospital, I announced, carefully helping Oliver to his feet. He cried out in pain, nearly collapsing. Don't be ridiculous, my mother huffed. You'll just waste everyone's time and money. Put some ice on it and he'll be fine. Marcus stepped closer, his 6'2" frame towering over us. Listen to Mom, Amanda. You're making a big deal out of nothing. Like always. I met his eyes, seeing the same cold amusement I'd seen countless times before. My brother, the golden child, who could do no wrong. Who'd been terrorizing me since childhood, and now thought he could do the same to my son. Back off, Marcus, I warned, supporting Oliver as we moved toward the door. Mom, Dad, I'm taking my son to the emergency room. You can either support that decision or stay here with your precious son who did nothing wrong. As usual. Amanda, my father's voice boomed. You're overreacting. This is family business. We handle these things privately. I turned back, one hand on the door. No, Dad. Not anymore. Not with my son. If you do this, my mother's voice quivered with what I recognized as manipulation, not concern. You'll tear this family apart. Is that what you want? I looked at Oliver's pale face, at the way he could barely stand, at the fear in his eyes when Marcus moved closer. Then I looked at my family, my enabling parents, my smirking brother, and made my decision. This family was torn apart long ago, I said quietly. You just never noticed because I was the only one bleeding. I helped Oliver to my car, ignoring their calls and threats. As I buckled him in, he whispered, Uncle Marcus said if I told you what he does, he'd hurt you too, Mommy. My hands froze on the seatbelt. What he does? Oliver, has this happened before? He nodded, more tears falling. He says it's our special game. He likes to scare me when you're not looking. He said it's funny. I felt sick to my stomach, but kept my voice calm. You're safe now, baby. We're going to get you help, and then we're going to make sure Uncle Marcus never hurts you again. As I drove toward the hospital, I could see my parents and Marcus watching from the front door. They probably thought I'd cave, like always. That I'd come back with apologies, accept their version of events, maintain the family peace. Not this time. This time, I had something worth fighting for. The emergency room was busy, but the moment the nurse saw Oliver's condition, we were rushed through triage. As they wheeled him away for x-rays, my phone buzzed constantly with messages from my family. Mom, you're embarrassing us all. Come home now. Dad, this is ridiculous. Marcus is devastated. Marcus, real nice, sis. Way to blow everything out of proportion. I silenced my phone and focused on the pediatric doctor examining Oliver. Dr. Winters was a stern-looking woman in her 50s, and her expression grew darker as Oliver described what happened. Uncle Marcus said it was funny to watch me fall. Oliver explained, wincing as she gently pressed his ribs. He likes to sneak up behind me and scare me too. Sometimes he grabs my arm really hard and says it's our secret. Dr. Winters caught my eye, her face professional but concerned. Mrs. Taylor, could we speak privately for a moment? She turned to the nurse. Stay with Oliver, please. In the hallway, Dr. Winters didn't mince words. Your son has 3 broken ribs and significant bruising. These injuries are not consistent with an accidental fall. The pattern suggests he was forcefully pushed. My hands trembled. I know, I heard it happen. There's more, she continued, pulling up Oliver's chart on her tablet. We found evidence of previous injuries, partially healed bruises in various stages, a hairline fracture in his wrist that was never treated. Mrs. Taylor, this suggests a pattern of abuse. The sick feeling in my stomach intensified. All those times Oliver had been quieter after visiting my parents' house. The way he'd flinch when Marcus came near. The mysterious bruises I'd attributed to normal childhood accidents, it all made horrible sense. I'm calling Child Protective Services, Dr. Winters stated firmly. This is not a suggestion, it's hospital policy. We're also obligated to report this to the police. Good, I said, surprising myself with my steadiness. I want to press charges. Dr. Winters nodded approvingly. The police will want photos and statements. We'll document everything. She paused, then added more gently, it's not easy standing up to family, but you're doing the right thing. When I returned to Oliver's room, 2 police officers were already there, speaking to him kindly while the nurse photographed his injuries. My phone buzzed again. A text from Marcus. Marcus, Mom and Dad are beside themselves. Fix this now, or else. For the first time, his threat didn't frighten me. It made me angry. I showed the message to the officers. My brother has been threatening my son for months. Today he pushed him down a flight of stairs, and my parents tried to cover it up. Ma'am, the female officer said, we take these cases very seriously. Would you like to file for an emergency protection order? Yes, I replied without hesitation. For both of us. The next few hours were a blur of statements, photographs, and paperwork. The CPS worker arrived, a compassionate woman named Diana who listened intently as I described the family dynamics, Marcus's history of violence, and my parents' pattern of enablement. You're not alone, Diana assured me. We see this often, families protecting abusers, gaslighting victims, pressuring them to stay quiet. But you've broken that cycle. You've protected your son. A knock at the door interrupted us. My parents stood there, looking both angry and bewildered. Behind them, Marcus loomed, his face dark with rage. What have you done? My mother hissed, trying to enter the room. The police officer blocked her way. Ma'am, you can't be here. There's a protection order in place. Protection order? My father exploded. Against family? Amanda, stop this nonsense right now. Marcus stepped forward, his voice dangerously low. You've really done it this time, sis. The change was immediate. Both officers moved to intercept him, one hand on their weapons. Sir, step back. You're not allowed near this room. These are serious allegations, the female officer warned. I suggest you all leave now, or we'll have to take action. I watched as my family was escorted out, their protests echoing down the hallway. My mother's tears, my father's threats, Marcus's cold stare, none of it affected me anymore. I turned back to Oliver, who was finally resting after receiving pain medication. Mrs. Taylor, Diana said softly, We've arranged for you and Oliver to stay at a secure location tonight. Tomorrow, we'll help you file for permanent restraining orders and discuss your options." I nodded, stroking Oliver's hair. He stirred slightly, then whispered, "Are we safe now, Mommy?" "Yes, baby," I promised, and for the first time, I truly believed it. "We're safe now." Diana touched my shoulder gently. "You've shown incredible courage today. Many people never find the strength to stand up to family abuse." I looked down at my sleeping son, thinking of all the times I'd stayed quiet, made excuses, accepted their version of events. Never again. My family could call it rough play, but the x-rays told the truth. The bruises told the truth. And now finally, so would I 3 months later. I sat in a courtroom, watching Marcus plead not guilty despite the overwhelming evidence against him. The district attorney had built a solid case, medical records, photographs, Oliver's recorded testimony, and even text messages from my parents attempting to pressure me into dropping the charges. My mother and father sat behind Marcus, both dressed in their Sunday bests, still playing the role of devoted parents supporting their wrongly accused son. They refused to look at me. 2 rows behind them sat my Aunt Sophie, my mother's younger sister, who had reached out to me privately after the hospital incident. "I always knew something was wrong with Marcus," she told me over coffee. "The way your parents covered for him, the way they dismissed your concerns. It happened when you were kids too, didn't it?" She was right. The memories had come flooding back during therapy sessions. Bruises explained away, accidents that weren't accidents at all. The constant fear that had become so normal I'd stopped recognizing it as fear. Now, watching Marcus in court, I felt none of that old fear. Oliver was safe at school, surrounded by teachers who had been informed of the situation. We'd moved to a secure apartment building, changed our phone numbers, and started rebuilding our lives. The prosecutor presented the evidence methodically. The x-rays of Oliver's ribs appeared on the screen, followed by photographs of old bruises. Dr. Winters testified about the pattern of injuries. When they played Oliver's recorded interview, I had to close my eyes. His small voice describing months of torment at his uncle's hands. He said it was our game. Oliver's voice filled the courtroom. He said if I told Mommy, something bad would happen to her. I opened my eyes to see Marcus shifting uncomfortably in his seat. For the first time, he looked worried. During a break, my mother approached me in the hallway, her face lined with strain. "It's not too late," she whispered. "You can still tell them it was a misunderstanding. Think about what this is doing to our family." I looked at her, and saw what I'd never allowed myself to see before. A woman so desperate to maintain the illusion of a perfect family that she'd sacrifice her own grandson's safety. "I am thinking about family," I replied. "I'm thinking about my son, who deserves to feel safe. Who deserves better than what you let happen to me." She recoiled as if I'd slapped her. "What we let happen to you? We gave you everything." "No, Mom, you gave everything to Marcus. You gave him permission to hurt people. You gave him protection when he did. But that stops now." The verdict came late in the afternoon. Guilty on all counts. Marcus's face turned red with rage as the judge ordered him to stand. Given the severity of the crimes and the vulnerability of the victim, the judge stated firmly, "I'm sentencing you to 8 years in prison. Additionally, there will be a permanent restraining order protecting both the minor child and his mother." My parents gasped. Marcus turned to look at me, his eyes burning with hatred. I met his gaze steadily, no longer the little sister who could be intimidated into silence. Outside the courthouse, Aunt Sophie hugged me tightly. "You did it," she whispered. "You broke the cycle." My parents walked past without a word, their shoulders stiff with what they probably thought was righteous indignation. I watched them go, feeling oddly peaceful. They had chosen their side, just as I had chosen mine. That evening, Oliver and I had dinner in our new apartment. His ribs had healed, but more importantly, the fear had left his eyes. He laughed easily now, told me about his day without hesitation, and no longer checked behind doors when entering a room. "Mom," he said, pushing his pasta around his plate, "are you sad about Uncle Marcus going to jail?" I reached across the table and took his hand. "No, honey. I'm proud that we told the truth. I'm proud that we helped make sure he can't hurt anyone else." He nodded, considering this. "Grandma and Grandpa are mad at us." "They are," I agreed, "but sometimes doing the right thing means some people won't like it. That doesn't make it any less right." Like when I told my teacher about the bruises, even though Uncle Marcus said not to. Exactly like that. You were very brave. He smiled, a real, unworried smile that lit up his whole face. You were brave too, Mom. Later, after Oliver was asleep, I sat on our small balcony, looking at the stars. My phone contained several missed calls from my parents, probably more attempts to make me feel guilty about destroying the family. I deleted them without listening. The family they wanted to preserve had been built on lies, secrets, and the sacrifice of the vulnerable to protect the violent. That family was gone, and in its place, something stronger had grown. A mother and son who had learned that love doesn't require silence. That family shouldn't mean fear, and that sometimes the bravest thing you can do is tell the truth, no matter who tries to stop you. We were safe, we were healing, we were free, and that was worth everything we lost.